under the pale moonlight. Vinny and Phil bring the shadows to life. Tales of the ghostly whispers in the night. Bigfoot and aliens ready for the strife. The darkness thickens, the air is cold. Haunting stories waiting to unfold. Supernatural Sundays, the veil is thin. Join us in the chaos, let the night begin. With every whisper and each chilling tale, dare to believe where shadows prevail. Heavy beats echo through the haunted trees. Demons lurk as the chill hits with ease. But the caps rolling with guests to amaze. Cryptids and spirits were lost in the haze. Northmen in the foliage, watch your back. Dogmen prowling, ready to attack. Supernatural Sundays, the veil is thin. Join us in the chaos, let the night begin. With every whisper and each chilling tale, dare to believe where shadows prevail. Moving in the foliage, watch your back. Toward the prowling, ready to attack. Supernatural Sundays, the veil is thin. Join us in the chaos, let the night begin. With every whisper and each chilling tale, dare to believe where shadows prevail. Tune in next week, fear in your soul. Darkness awaits, let the stories unfold.
Welcome to Supernatural Sundays on this June 1st edition. Our special guest tonight is Jessica King. She comes from up in Indiana, up there with all them Hoosiers up there north of us, the Kentucky across the river. How you doing, Jessica?
Got off work, just sitting and chilling.
Sounds good. We just came back from Red River Gorge. Went over for the Bigfoot Fest 2025. It was pretty exciting. We got to meet Dr. Meldrum. Cliff Barackman was there. Mr. Shea, who does all the footprint collections up by Carrollton, had some really nice handprints, footprints. Got to talk to him and Dr. Meldrum both about the footprint me and Jeff found up at Mammoth Cave, and it's kind of inconclusive. Meldrum thinks maybe the way we measured it was a little off, and then because I was trying to measure it with my phone, I went back to plaster cast it, and I couldn't find it. Went around for 2 hours, and it was gone. But there was a stick stuck in the ground, so I'm like, "What's up with this?" You know. So the Mr. Chase looked at it, and he thought it might have been a bear print, like dug in, drug his heel, and so I mean, they both admitted they didn't think it was a boot or some guy walking around out there with rubber boots or anything. So that was cool. I got a few pictures from the weekend. I got a few more stuff I haven't got together. We may talk about that next week, but I got a few little things. There were Bigfoots riding segways, all kind of crazy Bigfoot stuff up there. A lot of merch, a lot of T-shirts, a lot of handmade items, a lot of pretty cool stuff, some good food. We did go over to Chimney Top Rock today. There's been 23 people that died at that rock since 1960 that fell off the rock. It's over a 200-foot drop. And what people do, there's a rock close to the cliff, and they jump down to this rock. But then when they try to get back up, they can't jump back up. And a lot of times they fall. Or when they do jump, they twist their ankle or they just fall. So we went there, set up some equipment. Our clairaudient Gary heard the name Dave when we got there. He also heard the name Paul, which I haven't been able to validate if anyone named Dave or Paul's ever fell there. We also got Ellie on one of our piece of equipment, and we had a REM pod going off pretty much continuous. We saw a symbol carved into the rock, and I thought maybe it was some kind of a sigil or something like that. But when I asked my app, I got like an app that's interactive. It said it was a warning, probably warning people not to get too close to the edge. But Jessica, you come from up Indiana. If you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself, Jessica has some kind of sensitivities.
Well, I mean, I've been sensitive since I know, well, ever since I was a little kid. Mom used to tell me that she'd go outside and see me talking to just no one. She asked me who I was talking to. I'd tell her I was talking to angels and all kinds of different things, and she always thought it was neat. We had people that would pass away, and I would comfort loved ones, letting them know like their loved one had said something or something to them, and it would be something that only they would know, something along those lines. um, it's just always been that way. The longer I sit in a place, the more I get.
You
you
kind of
know
absorb the energy
yeah,
of the location, and
yeah, it's like the longer I sit in a place, it's like I may see something like spurt by real quick or something like that, but it's like sometimes I don't know if it's like trick of the light or a shadow or something like that. But then the longer I spend in a place, it's like I can see things better, hear things better, feel things better, things like that. It also depends on what happens. If it's worse off, sometimes I pick up on it right away. If it's not so bad, and something shy or something like that, sometimes I don't pick up on it right away.
we have found that sometimes whatever we're trying to investigate will mess with us. Uh,
Hmm.
like today, for instance, every time I had a REM pod going off, and every time I turned on my camera, it would stop, and then I'd shut it off and I'd wait, and it started going off again. I'd hit record, and it would stop again, and Gary was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, can you keep doing that?" So I got a little bit of a recording. Uh, I took my SLS device up there. For people that don't know, it's a structured light system. Basically, it started out with the Xbox 360, where kids play this video game that follows your form, and it looks like a stick man. And kids all over the world noticed there'd be another stick man pop up next to them, and they're playing by themselves. They're like, "Who's this other player number two? I don't have player number two." So that's when the scientists started looking into it. They're like, "Hey, this device is picking up stuff that's not there," and
Hmm.
it's kind of inconclusive. I'm not saying everything it picks up is paranormal, but when I'm sitting perfectly still and I have it on a tripod and something just kind of pops up and takes off, walks by, and I'm not moving. I'm like, okay, what was that? But
Yeah.
today, I charged up my tablet, full charge, walked down there, get to the spot, turned on the tablet, went down to barely a quarter charge. Put my battery pack for my camera, hooked it up, instantly went dead. Down to like nothing, not even enough power to get the camera stabilized. So I put in my second battery pack, got it stabilized. Then we were having trouble seeing the screen. It was so bright out there. We usually use it in the dark, and we didn't really see anything with that device today. We had it going, but we didn't really pick up anything. So, but we did get a little bit of things on one of our apps, and uh, so it sounds like you're kind of a clairvoyant and clairaudient. You can hear things, see things.
Feel
I've
things.
also been
Sometimes I can
told,
smell things.
yeah, that I don't have any abilities, but I have had the smells. I've ran into things in different places where it would smell like flowers or smell like, there any better words to say, it would smell like a fart or somebody pooped in their diaper and walked by.
Yeah.
It was just, that was in Indiana, actually, at the Rockville Hospital. We ended up getting stink bombed up there on the third floor. Um,
Yeah, there's
but
a lot of sulfur water up in these areas. I wouldn't be surprised, if a rain came through and did that one.
Well, this was a dry night. We were on the third floor, and it just kind of like showed up. It came like walking through, and then it left. It was
Hmm.
pretty wild. I'm gonna pull up some videos and whatnot, and you're gonna be like my co-host tonight and help look at them, and we'll see what you think. I've also been told you're a pretty good artist. I've seen some of your drawings, pretty amazing drawings. So
Thanks.
actually have a few ideas of some things. We want to see if you can draw them. I'm gonna play some stuff from today and see what you think. We'll pull this up and see if it'll play. See if you can do her again, buddy.
There you go.
Let us know you're here.
There you go.
This feller here can hear you if you want to talk to him. If your name's Dave. Are you Dave? So we tried to get it to record. I don't know if you could see, it was barely ticking, and every time I went to record, it would just stop. And Gary heard the name Dave. That's why we're asking if it was Dave.
Yeah.
And then we got this guy. There you go. They had the Bigfoot running around on a Segway, a one-wheeled Segway. It's pretty cool.
That's nice.
There were quite a few Bigfoots running around. And then after the Dr. Meldrum had his talk, they actually had a Bigfoot calling contest. And there were people up there hollering and screaming, and it was pretty good, pretty entertaining.
Nice.
That was just a little bit of what we did this weekend. We do have videos. We went through the Nada Tunnel today, but we didn't have time to pull them up because we literally just got back a little while ago. You were with us on the Roz Opera House trip a couple weeks back, right for Memorial Day. And I'm going to play a couple videos. I'm still going through the audio and video, but I do have a couple SLS videos here to pull up. And you were there for some of these, so we'll see what you think. Let's see, I go recording, it's gone. Or maybe not. It's trying to pick you up, I think. I'm not
It
sure.
lost its head.
That was weird. It was on the depth camera, but on the regular camera, but not the depth camera. That's something new. So we were actually in the third floor, like a lounge, and that particular figure, it like morphed into some kind of little thing flying around. And then it disappeared. But normally it shows up on the depth and the actual video camera. This time it was just showing up on the video and not the depth. So it's kind of weird. You get mixed results. Like I think sometimes these things play with our equipment. Sometimes like today our batteries got toasted as soon as we got there.
Yeah. Up there at the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think of that stick figure?
The one at the Opera House, I mean, whenever I was there, I felt like I picked up on two different things, but I wasn't for sure. One of them was definitely pretty tall, and what I see there, it seems like a pretty tall person, almost maybe male. Because that's what I picked up on a lot. was a male presence there. I didn't pick up on really any women or nothing like that, except one time, and that was in the powder room, right
Okay.
whenever we first got there.
We had another there were another group in there, a couple of different groups, and we had one person was picking up on a woman down in the theater, down in the bottom,
Mhm.
like down in there. I got a couple more videos here. I'll pop these up, see what you think. This is just all my little snippets I put together, and I was having trouble with my video capture feature on my tablet, so I was using my camera to try to record and edit. I do have a new laptop that we haven't implemented yet, but we're going to try to put this software on that laptop so it can handle the problem is we're using an older little tiny Toshiba tablet that came with the unit and it can't handle the bandwidth. It just can't handle the recording features too much. It needs too much RAM or
Right.
whatever. So I'll pull a couple of these, see what you think.
Seat
Did
next
you
to
load
him.
that recorder on there? Can you see it, Cindy?
Yeah.
Let me try to go closer. What are you doing? Are you playing cards?
Oh, come back.
Can you come back, buddy? That was bizarre.
We loved watching you.
There's Jeffinator.
You were trying to entertain us.
Look, you can even see Jeff's nose and everything. That's badass.
I know.
There's something trying to manifest over in that corner. See the energy. See how it's like pulsating the whole.
Yeah.
That's the lasers picking up some like energy. There's Jeff. And then who's that? Gary? Oh, that's dude. Okay. And
There he
then,
was again.
no, I think that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, this was right here on that chair with nobody in it, though.
Yeah.
Come on back. You ain't gotta be scared. Come on over here. You wanna come play cards with us? 5-card stud. Deuces are wild. Kind of reminded me of the Disney ride where like the ghost pops up next to you in the seat.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was upstairs in that that
The lounge area.
yeah that
at
dining
the
room area like
3rd floor.
yeah yeah that's actually kind of cool that the card thing got brought up because I didn't say anything that night, but I kept getting the feeling of like, man, I wish I had a deck of cards or something like that to play with. So I don't even think I was up there with you guys whenever you guys did that one.
So I know a lady up in Burlington, Kentucky. I don't know if she's watching tonight, but so kind of a weird story. But anyway, she was married and she got divorced and got remarried.
Hmm.
And her second husband passed, and she's already got her funeral plot and everything picked out. Fast forward 30 years, she remarries her first husband that she was married to before. And she said, well, I've got 3 plots. I'm going to be in the middle. I'm going to bury my second husband. He's already buried on one side. I'm going to be in the middle. And my first and last husband is going to be married on the other side. And she says, well, I guess they'll just be down there playing cards together. So I asked her, I said, well, when you buried second husband, did you put any cards in the casket with him? She's like, no. I said, well, I guess he won't be playing with a full deck then. I actually got her to laugh on that one. And, but I do have a couple cards with us. I didn't say anything, but I've got little wooden blocks like for kids to play with and whatnot, marbles, and I usually have 2 cards, different numbers, and I'll put them out and I'll see if they can see the number and like count to 3, count to 6. We've done that kind of thing. Or this card means yes, this card means no. I just only have 2 cards, but I'm not playing with full deck either, apparently.
Yeah.
Let's pull up another one here. See what you think of this one. Then we'll go on to some other stuff. I think we did this one already. Well, come on back. You ain't gonna be scared. Are you playing? I seen you, little friend.
Can you come over here by me? You can just sit by me.
I see you. He was right here. That same little fella that was climbing around earlier. It was kind of hard to tell from that picture, but we did have like some activity, like something playing around the seats down there, climbing around.
Yeah.
I got one more, and then we'll move on to some other exciting stuff, Jessica. I know you're ready for some more exciting stuff. And you've never seen any of these other things I'm going to show, so we're going to get initial reaction from you and see what you think. What are you doing up there? Where'd you go, buddy? Oh, as soon as I start recording. It jumped over the railing. Over here.
That looks small.
Yeah, somebody's got a light on me. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was small and it jumped over the railing. Can you come back? Are you playing on that equipment?
Oh, no.
Hey, little.
5 seconds ago, I got real busy.
Yeah, I seen it. It jumped over the railing. I tried to record it. Now it's took off. Whatever it was that running from me as soon as I try to record. Come on, little buddy. I'm your friend. You don't have to run off. You playing hide and seek with me? You gonna come back out? Sometimes I can get them to come back out, and then other times they're kind of shy. But did you mean to roll that one back? Did you see at the beginning where it like popped up and it jumped off?
No, I saw the beginning of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Stuff's like kind of popping around in there. I think it's my thoughts are it's little kids running around there playing hide and seek and whatnot, and it happens a lot when I go to record. As soon as I go to record, they stop. It's like they know I'm going to record. It's like they can.
Yeah. That happens a lot with everyone. It's like they don't want to be caught.
No, absolutely not. Okay, we're gonna pull up some videos of the week, and we're gonna go to Supernatural News. So we're gonna do our news, and I'm gonna have Miss Jessica here look at these and see what she thinks, and we're gonna talk about these. Okay, here's the first video. And my whole complete format changed on me this week for some reason. The guys that run this thing changed the format, so I can't see all my little notes. So we're gonna. Well, this is some paranormal activity that was captured, and I'm gonna pull this up. We're gonna look at it and just give me your complete honest opinion of this. If you think it's complete crap, if you think it's legit, or you think, okay, I've had that happen to me, or any kind of experiences you want to share, we'll pull it up and we'll see what you think.
Hi guys, it's Dave from Spooky Haunts. The clip of video you're about to watch in the next few minutes happened last night whilst we were at the infamous chapel. I'll leave it up to you guys to like the video if you really like it. Please comment what your thoughts are. These cars worked on a motion activation, so basically you've got to be right above it, right close to the cars. If you're touching it, then it will drive off, okay? It will stop when you take your hands away from it, okay? That's something you need to remember. Watch the video. Please leave your comments in the comment section, like the video and share it with your friends. This is really great video footage of something we captured last night.
But Matt's going to be left on his own in a minute. You can play with him.
Sorry, where she set things off. Whoa! Shit. The car. Oh my god. Did you see that, guys?
All 3 fucking cats. I'm so sorry, chat. I was fucking blocking it.
Oh my god.
Oh, fucking
Oh my god.
Whoever, Kate, was that you?
You just want to be...
I don't know how I feel about the car aspect of it. I feel like someone else could have been standing out of frame and moving it, because the only two cat balls on the floor that moved was whenever it got close to it, and that
When the
could have
cat
vibrated
balls
them.
encountered the motion and vibration from the
Right.
car, the cat balls work strictly off vibration, so the little car might have vibrated. I'm kind of having mixed feelings on this one. I think maybe something could have set the car off and it took off, and I think that's what set the cat balls off. I'm thinking
Yeah.
somebody could have had a remote control car and just took off with it, but
Yeah,
based on
that's
their reactions, don't seem faked to me. They seem pretty genuinely surprised when the thing went off, unless they're really
I
good
mean,
actors.
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, like, they're making TikToks and things like that. So many people do that for subscriptions anymore. But I mean, yeah, their reactions seem genuine. I will give them credit for that. It's just like I'm looking at it and I'm like, why a car?
Exactly.
Because
Why
I've
a toy
had
car?
things. There's a building in Paoli that burned a long time ago, and there's a restaurant there now. And occasionally, I will go in there and I will sit, and my drink will move across the table just randomly. I've
Like
been with
no wet,
friends.
like not a wet coaster, or like a wet
Nope,
cup on a like polyurethane table, and it just gets like a anti-friction. And it just is the
nope.
floor, is the table like not level? It's got like a napkin holding it up or anything, or is it
Mm-mm.
wobbly?
No,
Or
it's completely level, completely just fine. And I can be in other restaurants. Another restaurant that'll do it. Ironically enough, I used to have stuff like this happen in the restaurant. Both times I've had witnesses to this, family, friends, coworkers, things like that. Because up at the Wendy's restaurant in Paoli, my grandfather, his house used to be there, and he's kind of hard nosed. He was old time. His territory was his territory. You don't mess with his territory, kind of thing. And that was his favorite house. And he moved. He didn't want to move. He moved to Cherry Street in Paoli. Well, whenever he passed away, it was a few years later, they tore that house down. They built a Wendy's up right over top of it. Well, I worked there, and I'd be back in the back where his room would be at, his bedroom, and I'd be washing dishes and things. And all of a sudden, I've had knives, I had cups, I had lids, all kinds of things just come flying off the shelf. They'd be tight in a box and just woof, come flying off the shelf right at my head. And I'm like, yo. But and it didn't just happen to me, it happened to others in the restaurant too. So I got
this
stuck in the
is
back window a lot.
this is Paoli, Indiana.
Yeah, Paoli, Indiana, the
And
Wendy's
then
out on Gospel Street.
did grandfather pass away on the property by any
Mm-mm.
chance?
No, he didn't pass away on that property. He actually passed away in a nursing home in Mitchell, Indiana. But it was just like his spirit went back to the restaurant for whatever reason, kind of like how
You think
people go back to the opera house.
you think it was grandpa just coming back going, "What's this Wendy's doing in
I
my
really
bedroom?
do, because
Why are these cups over here in my closet?"
his attitude, I'm telling you. And then sometimes I could hear him talk to me, telling me to shut up and quiet down because I was washing dishes. I'm like, I got to do my job. What do you want me to do here? And then that's usually whenever I get something thrown at me. And he was known for that. He'd pick up whatever he had close to him and, bust his kids' hind ends. I mean, he raised them in the 1950s and earlier on. It wasn't uncommon for parents to pick up whatever they had in their hand and go whop. And that's kind of what I felt like. And another thing that he would do that would happen to me there at the restaurant that he did whenever I was little was he would grab hold of my ponytail and he would kind of jerk it. And that would happen to me sometimes. I turn around, look, no one's behind me. And I'm like, okay, and he'd do that to the other girls too that had longer hair. He would grab hold of their hair and pull.
I had that
So,
happen to me in Clarksville, Tennessee. Yeah, I felt somebody like a tug on my shirt, because
hmm
sometimes people come up try to get a hold of me while I'm filming, and they don't want to like
yeah,
knock me around. And then I turn around, I'm like, "There's nobody there." And I went around the corner. I thought, well, maybe they're messing with me. I'm like, nobody there.
yeah,
It's kind of weird. You get a little tug. You're like, all right, who is it? What? Oh, okay.
yeah. I
Well,
mean,
this next video, I think you're gonna have some strong feelings about this one. I think this one's gonna hit home for you personally.
So it's 2:30 in the morning. I wake up and Luke is staring here in the corner. He's absolutely staring at a spirit, and you're going to see that spirit's ball of energy leave the spot where Luke is staring at. Man, I wish I could see what he saw. There is a spirit that Luke was just staring at, 100%.
Animals, and
Oh yeah.
I think animals can see things that we can't. I mean,
Oh
I
yeah.
take my dog to a cemetery. He starts wagging his tail at something, and I start taking
There's
pictures.
nothing there. And yeah, it's like, I can actually recently, ironically enough, but I don't know if you noticed all the other conversations prior to my blessing that I did here on the home. My dogs were always going nuts. Anytime we were ever talking on Facebook or something, I was constantly, shut up. They were always barking, random places in my house. And that's whenever, I could hear something outside or something like that. Since then, nothing.
It just seems a
Absolutely
lot
nothing.
quieter there tonight. Usually you hear a little yapping going on.
Oh yeah, you got the dogs running around yapping. I mean, everything's going off and it's quiet. There hasn't been
How's the
anything.
kitten doing now? The kitten doing
Great.
better?
Oh
I
yeah.
know your one little kitten was kind of feeling kind of sick, and ever since you kind of did some cleansing on your home, the
I tell
the
you what.
dogs got quieter, and the kitten seemed to be doing better. Because the one picture you showed me, the cat looked like really like I remember you took it to the vet and like it was
He
fine, and then the next day it just
Oh
looked
my
like something sucked the
gosh.
life out of it. I was like, does it have worms? Did like a bunch of fleas get on it, suck the blood out of it,
Mm-mm.
or what? I mean, this
That
cat
was
looked like it was death warmed over, and then like once
yeah.
you got it to the vet, and they what you had to change up its food and some other things too, and
It was funny because whenever I talked to Dr. Cooper, I was like, "What is wrong with my cat?" He's like, "He's underfed." And I'm like, "How?" I'm like, "This cat gets formula, wet food, dry food, full access to water. I mean, 24/7 access to food, any kind of food he wants. And he eats, he drinks, he does all of it. And he was, believe it or not, the fattest one of his siblings. And then I get up the next morning and all of a sudden he's just like he
uh,
hasn't eaten in weeks.
this,
And I'm
this
like,
cat it looked like you showed me one picture, this little fluffy kitten. I'm like, oh, cute, and then the next picture it's like emaciated. I'm like, are you trying to show me, Jessica, a picture of a chupacabra or something? She's like, no, it's my little
no.
kitten. What's wrong
I
with it?
tell
That's why
you
I wanted to
what,
show that animal video, because I was like, oh, she will most definitely
you'll
relate to the
flip.
dog staring at the, whatever it was.
If I can get him to come up here. Miso.
Miso, like the Japanese soup.
Yeah. I tried to get Star to bring him up, but she ain't grabbing her phone.
So we got some devices we make. One of them's called the Paramoo, and it's got cowbells on it. So I think it's time for a little more cowbell.
I could have used a little more cowbell.
I would have a little more cowbell while you were looking to see if the cat would show up.
She's grabbing him.
This will be our first show with live animals. Come on.
But he is fat. Apparently he doesn't want to show up for the camera.
He's a camera shy kitten.
Yeah. But he's like really stupid fat. I don't know if I could show you a picture of
It's
him
kind
or
of
not.
like that miso soup. Where's the beef? Nope, just tofu.
I got a picture of him I can show. That's him right now.
He actually looks a little better. Kind of a
Yeah.
tabby little guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
But
heard of paranormal activity causing animals to be sick,
oh
and
yeah. And that's kind of what was happening here. It made, several of our animals sick. It made the dog sick. It made the cat sick. It actually affected Star. It started affecting myself. And I was like, after she got to a point where she had to go to the hospital, I was like, I'm done. And I went through and I blessed everything. I went through and smudged and sprinkled holy water everywhere and did my, the blessings and the prayers, and it's been quiet ever since.
so I mean, we talked before because this has been ongoing for a while. You were having some issues that nothing environmental that you guys could
Mm-mm,
find at all with this home.
no. And for it to just stop right after that, I mean, if it would have continued afterwards, I mean, nothing's came back. I've had things where I've done blessings and I've had to repeat because it'll come back. And but nothing's came back or anything, and nothing's been, no one's been getting sick or anything like that.
What do
So
you what do you think uh, may have been causing this activity? I mean, I think you were hearing stuff like you guys were hearing stuff walking around and whatnot too. Like you'd
right,
go to work and your friend Star would hear stuff walking around or whatever, and then you come home, it would kind of quiet down. Then
it
um,
would start back up later on in the night.
yeah,
Usually it would like wait till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then all of a sudden the activity would pick up, and it would pick up all throughout the night. But it really liked to mess with her because I wouldn't really react to it. And it made me nervous one time. And that was whenever it was on the roof, because I was like, what the heck's on the roof? And I even went outside. I took pictures. I looked for footprints. I looked for claw marks. Something fell off the roof or something, and I couldn't find anything. And
um, I don't know how much you want to share of what. I mean, we've talked a few times, but I don't know how much you want to share
I think I can
publicly
go
of
into
what
enough.
you think caused it.
I think
Uh,
I can go into enough detail without, like
naming names.
naming names and interrupting privacy. But for lack of a better term, when I got up here, we purchased this home and I knew the previous tenants, and I knew that one of the tenants was into witchcraft. And so, you know, just like kids that get into Ouija boards that really don't know what they're doing and they mess around with stuff, they think they're doing good and they're not. I think that's what happened. It could have been out of innocence because I know whenever she buried the dogs, she made the comment to me that they were guardians and that they were guarding the property. And I was kind of like, okay. And it was a couple nights later, I was sitting on the front porch with my roommate, and she was smoking a cigarette. And I looked at her and I was like, am I going nuts or did you see that too? And she goes, the dog that just walked through the property. And I was like, okay, I'm not going crazy, because she, without me saying anything, she told me what it was. And she's like, I told you whenever we first got here, I felt like there was a lot of death on the property, because she's also a medium. And she's like, but I feel like there's been a lot of animal sacrifices. That was her words. And I was kind of like, okay. Going back to the whole witchcraft part of it and the research that I did on the area itself with like Native American, and how like some of the Native American like folklore with like skinwalkers and things like that worked. One thing that I found was that magic, whether mostly ill intent, can attract them. And I don't know if because she was doing so much and maybe she got so desperate when her spouse got bad that she was trying to fix things. call on another source, because she doesn't believe in Christianity or anything like that. She's very Norse pagan, which I have no issues with that. I know I have a lot of friends that are Norse pagan, but they just don't get into the things that she possibly could have been getting into, and thus forth attracted something that was unwanted. I got the property, and then me being as sensitive as I am, and her being as sensitive as she is, it affected us. We could see it, that kind of a thing. But I think that might have been what brought it here and stuff like that. I mean, I took every precaution I could. So, but I haven't seen or heard or anything like that. I've heard things off in the distance, but I think that's a deer or maybe a bobcat or something like that, because they do sound more like a deer or a bobcat. The animals that I heard around here that would make noises didn't sound natural. It sounded like a bobcat or it sounded like a deer, but it didn't sound natural. It was making that noise like a bobcat or a deer, and then all of a sudden you would hear voices start just screaming in the middle of the day, middle of the night. And we would kind of open up the windows to see maybe if it was one of the neighbors screaming, because I wasn't about to go walk outside. Um, but no one was making any noises off in that direction. It sounded like it was coming from right outside her window every time.
You know how you asked the roommate, "Hey, did you just see a dog run through here?" And she's like,
Mm.
"Yeah." So like today we were driving through Red River Gorge. I seen this older gentleman sitting on his Harley on the side of the road, just like sitting on it sideways. And it's like a 1 lane. I mean, well, it's 2 lane road, but it's narrow. I mean,
Right.
there's no shoulder, and you're kind of hugging the side of the road. And I look over and I see this guy, and I'm like, "Did you guys just see a guy sitting on a Harley?" And they're like, "Yeah, we seen you." I'm like, "Okay, just checking."
Yeah. Yeah,
This
I've
next
I've had a lot
video,
of moments like that.
this next video, I think is gonna be very relatable to what you had going on at your house and the experience. And uh, I think this guy's just kind of shooting from the hip, being very real and pretty interesting. I think you'll like this one.
I don't know much about witchcraft.
You don't want to.
What is it?
There are black witches and white witches, that there are witches that do good. Witchcraft is still witchcraft. It's the use of the elements, and there's alchemy, there's wizardry, sorcery, electricity, magic, use of blood, use of spit, use of sperm. I did it 2 times. Both of them worked, and then I went,
Are you serious?
this is bigger than I am. That really fucked my life up, and it took years for us to get out of it.
What were your hexes?
One was something that had to do with the guy that actually punched me. What happened was, we went to school that day. The guy walked up to me and just slugged me. The second bus shows up and we get in the bus and we take off. He's coming up to his house and he walks through the walkway in the bus and elbows me in the back of the head as he's getting out. And I was trying to fit in, so I had a mouthful of Red Man. And when he hit me, I went, ooh, and I swallowed that shit. That's it. I'm going to do something about this. So I looked through the book and I found something that would do what I wanted. I did that hex.
What did you want to happen?
I really don't want to get into it because I don't want anybody to be misled and try and figure out what I did. When you open up the doors to the dark, they're not going to wait to be invited in. They're coming.
Do you think you were possessed?
Oh, I know it was. When we went to San Francisco to go see the Filipino priest, he said that he laid hands on me and the head of a bull came out of my chest.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what he's saying. Whenever you get into it, it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah, and if somebody was doing something like that on your property, there could be some stuff left behind. Like we've dealt with cases where people were being physically touched,
Hmm.
attacked, even when they're trying to sleep or just in their home being harassed, and it was because of someone else had done some type of occult type activity, and they'd actually left. But when he was talking about blood and different
Hmm.
fluids and whatnot, we've been in some cases where you couldn't really. You walk in a room, it looks fine. I'm like, what's going on? Like, the people are getting messed with. I'm like, I don't see anything. And then I turn on my UV light and I start seeing stuff where they mark the walls, and like people have their, how they're worshiping these different things, and how they mark they call them sigils. They make little Designs. And, Bruce, another gentleman on our team, he's pretty much our resident demonologist and helps us on some really nasty cases. And he was like, "That's a sigil," and he goes, "Here's his altar." And they had symbols on the wall. And I can't get
Mhm.
into a lot of details because it was a private case, but
Right.
they definitely had used some type of bodily fluid that shows up white under UV light. Kind of like when you go to a hotel, you may not want
Mhm.
to. You may not want to look around with UV light. There's stuff there you may not want to see, but
I used to have to
uh,
clean hotel rooms. I know.
yeah.
we
Okay,
we
so
had to go through with UV light, and if we
oh my
found anything,
God,
we had to clean it. Yeah,
God bless you on that one.
it was
I
bad.
didn't know the cleaning ladies did that, but I'm glad. I'm
did.
glad you guys did.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
We might have been. I've house kept for a few places. That was one of the few places I knew that did it, but not a whole lot of places do that.
I always
So
get a
we did.
flashlight. First thing I check is under the bed skirt ruffles. I'm looking for those little eggs,
Oh
little
yeah.
blue things, the
Yeah.
the bed
Yeah.
bugs. And I
Mhm.
before I even put my bags down, I might set them in the bathroom, in the bathtub, whatever, just in case. And then I really like the in-room coffee, those little cafe valet, where you put your little coffee in
Mhm.
there and you can have coffee in your room and everything. And then I get to thinking, anybody could open the lid on this thing. God knows what they may have put in. So I'm always
Oh yeah.
rinsing out the coffee cup, the coffee pot, and all that before I use it. I'm like, I
Oh
hope they
yeah.
cleaned it. I hope they didn't use the same rag they used on the toilet or anything. But I mean, you don't know in a hotel, but you
Yeah,
can
you
kind of
don't.
tell if it looks clean, whatever. And but it's like, you
Yeah.
know,
One thing that I do want to say, just like you said in the video, you can use, like all those different things, and there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it. And it's all about intention. And one thing I actually have, I do some things that some people would consider Wiccan or witchcraft, but it's that intention behind it, you know. And one thing that I was always told by one of the witches in my family was is that if you're going to do something, realize that whatever you push out, you're going to get 7 times back. So if you're doing ill intent, you're going to get ill intent pushed back at you 7 times harder. So it's like, is it really going to be worth it to get that revenge? Or do you want to just leave it alone? And like, I always leave it alone because karma has
I've
a way of
always
dealing
found you
with it.
better to leave it alone. And like somebody does you wrong, you're like, man, that guy's a jerk, whatever. But it's like it always seems like karma, God, whoever's taking care of us. They always said, even in your Bible, they always say, let me get the Lord take the revenge, kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
let it play out. And I've seen stuff where like, okay, these guys they mess with a lot of people, and the next thing you know, they're in a car wreck. They go flying out of the car and they get killed in the middle of the road. And it's like, wow,
Yeah.
that was way harsher than than I was thinking. Like
Yeah.
somebody spits on you, want to spit back, or you want to go do something. It's like a jerk. The next thing you know, the next day they're run over by a truck. It's like, oh,
It's like,
okay.
I mean, even words, it doesn't even have to be anything with it. And I'll give a prime example. My mother, she's got a really, really bad habit, and after a couple times of something really bad happening, I think she kind of quit. But she would say things and be like, what's an example I can use? Because some of the things that she has said has been kind of rough. Um, because you got another dog, that dog's gonna die, and then the dog dies.
Oh,
Yeah, and then it's something like that. It'll be, oh, you don't need to do that. You're gonna get in an accident. I'm like, shut up. Every time I look at her, I'm like, shut up, because something. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's like I always tell her, don't you ever say I'll be in an accident, because I don't ever want to be in the accident.
I think another thing that it's probably just as bad or worse. I don't know if it's a karma thing or whatever, but like somebody's getting ready to go do something, and it could be considered life threatening, dangerous, and you tell them, look, like, look, man, make sure you do this, be careful. If they
Hmm.
don't do that thing you warned them about, and then they die. It's like I got a real quick example. My grandpa was a sniper. He was a Canadian sniper from Alberta in World War II. He landed at Juno Beach, and
Mm-hmm.
over in Normandy. And when he got out of the army, he was pretty heavy into guns and things, and he made custom hunting rifles for people. He would carve the gun, like he would measure your trigger pull strength and your arm.
Mm-hmm.
He would hand carve the stock to fit that person. It might take him a month or 2 months to make one gun. And
Mm-hmm.
he had made a custom hunting rifle for this gentleman, and he finally got the gun. The guy would come by every week, check on it, take pictures and check on the progress. So he finally gets it done. The guy's excited. He comes by on a Friday. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting my new gun." It had the scope. It's like for hunting moose, elk, that kind of thing, big game. And so he was going up somewhere up by Glacier Park, up by Montana, or up by Waterton, somewhere up in that area. He was going to go hunt, I think, mule deer, elk. And my grandpa told, okay, he said, well, that's a bad bear area. It's a grizzly area. He said, whatever you do, make sure you take a thumper with you. And what he called a thumper was, a heavy gauge pistol, like a 45
Mm-hmm.
or a 50 cal or, whatever,
Yeah.
He said, make sure you got a backup. And he goes, well, I got this new rifle. He said, look, a bear is so fast. He said, you will not get that gun. You won't even get that gun off your back in time. You need something that you can pull fast if a bear's on you. And
Mm-hmm.
the guy's like, okay. He went up there, and then he didn't hear anything. It's on a Friday. It's like a Monday. The guy's wife calls. He's like, hey, have you heard from my husband? He's like, yeah, he come by and got the gun. How did it do? Did he get a moose? Did he get elk? Whatever. He didn't come home.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of knew where the area he was going. They found his truck. They get up there, and a bear had mauled him, and the gun was still attached to him, and he didn't have a pistol. Didn't take the thumper with him, and so my grandpa feels horrible. I mean, to him, it was kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
safety warning, kind of a prophetic thing, like almost like, look, man, make sure you got a backup. And he didn't do it. He didn't listen. Now my grandpa feels horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
he warned him, but now he feels like, oh my God.
Almost like he's responsible.
Yes,
No.
like I should have handed him a pistol, something. I didn't know he didn't have one. He gets to the
Yeah.
funeral, and the wife, has the gun in the casket. And my
Mm.
grandpa was like, okay, what are you doing with the gun after the funeral? And he said, I will cut the gun down to fit your son. He said, I spent a month making this. This should be in your family. This
Mm-hmm.
is a family heirloom. This is a handmade rifle. And she said, nope, that's all he talked about was that damn gun. And he finally went out hunting. He got killed. The first time he took it out, she goes, I'm burying it with him. And then my grandpa died in his 80s. And he'd always talked about, like, he was always talking about going to go dig up his buddy and get that gun out of there and like secretly give it to her son. And kind of interesting story. But that's the kind of guy he was. I don't know. I don't think he ever did. But he was so upset, 'cause this is like one of his best friends, and
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
so I don't know if that it's kind of a karma thing or kind of a prophetic thing, but I don't know if he could like visualize this bear. It's like he was.
Some people have that gift of discernment and they don't even realize that they have it, you
Right.
know? I mean, I'll actually give an example. This is personal to me. This actually happened within my family, close family. I was still driving. I was in South Dakota and I had a dream. And this is how my mom always has stuff happen. And she would always call people up and tell them, like, hey, this is going to happen. Make sure you watch out. And as long as she told them, it didn't happen. But if she didn't tell them, it happened. Um, so I had the dream, and the dream was I was in a semi and I went out to this farm. And I knew the farm. Me and my dad went out there whenever I first learned how to drive. And I rode with him to see if I would like trucking or not. And we went to this particular farm. And I remembered it was on a big steep hill, real close to Du Bois, right where the mill and everything was. And um, whenever in the dream, the truck left the mill and everything, it was going down the hill, and it was middle of, I think it was December, no, it was February, and snow had came, real bad snowstorm. It was iced over really bad, and there was a car. It was a 4-door silver car. I was wanting to say it was like a Toyota or something like that. At the time, whenever I had the dream, I knew the license plate number, the make of the car, who was driving it, what she was doing, what the car looked like. I knew every dent, every scratch on the car. That's how much I zoomed in on this car in this
Pretty
dream.
amazing.
And well, the driver veered off the road and tried, not on purpose, but tried to get over to his side of the road and went over the embankment because it was icy, and a tree branch went through the windshield and went through the driver. The driver in the dream was my father. And I freaked. It's 2 o'clock in the morning in South Dakota. It's 5 o'clock in the morning out in Indiana. And so I'm freaking out. I'm calling my mom. At first, I tried calling my dad. Couldn't get a hold of my dad. Tried calling my mom. Couldn't get a hold of her. I'm calling his work. I'm calling everybody I can think of, try to get a hold of them, his family, everything. And finally, I got a hold of someone at the mill. And I told them, I said, when Joe comes back, I said, you have him call me. I said, it is an emergency and it's imperative that he gets a hold of me. And I told him, I said, whenever he went out to that mill, and I still remember the times, I said, you are going to get this load at 10:45. I said, you are going to get there at 11:30. It's going to take you 20 minutes to unload. I said, you're going to get stuck. I said, so then it's going to take you another 15 minutes because you got stuck. When you get unstuck, it's going to be like 12:03. I said, do not leave that driveway till 12:15. I said, it will not cost you anything to sit there for 12 minutes. I said, but whenever you sit there, I said at 12:15, I said, there's going to be a 4-door silver car with X license plate. This woman's going to be driving it. Gave you the description of the woman. And I said, she's going to be playing on her cell phone. She's not going to be paying attention because she's lost and she's trying to find wherever it is that she's trying to go. And well, he tells me, he says, I haven't been out to that farm since I took you. He goes, I don't see me going out there, blah, 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 blah. He goes, you're fine. And I was like, I'm telling you the truth. You're going to get that load at 10:30. And he got back to the mill. And on his way back, he radioed in. He said, load out 19. That was his truck. And they said, you're going to that farm. And he said his heart sank because the likelihood of him getting that farm was just unheard of. And he got there. He looked at the time. He picked up the load, and it was 10:30. And so whenever he got out to the farm, my times were all matching up. He got stuck. He couldn't believe it. So then whenever he got done, he said he started to leave, but then he just couldn't get my voice out of his head. So he sat there at the end of that driveway, and here came that car, and he called me up bawling his eyes out.
Did the car wreck like in your vision?
No, the semi, it would have been my dad that would have wrecked. And because he would have been the one that would have been avoiding the car because they were going to meet on that hill.
And it was like snowy or something, like he was trying to dodge the car, or
Yeah, he was in the full lane. So you know how like vehicles would take up the whole lane sometimes
Oh, yeah.
going up and down a hill? He was taking up the whole lane trying to be safe going down the hill in my dream. Well, then here comes this car doing the same thing. So he tried to move over for the car to get around him. And whenever he did, he caught black ice and went over the hill. But instead of doing that, I told him
just
to
waited
wait.
it out because he
And
listened
then
to you.
here,
And he's like,
right, and here came the car. And whenever the car passed him, and there the lady was, she was trying to drive, and she was doing this number. He said, and he did. He called me up sobbing like a baby. I've only ever
yeah, if
heard
you
him
called
cry
me and told me
twice.
all that, and stuff started playing out exactly like you were saying, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna have a coffee. I might even wait till about noon and have a sandwich.
Yeah, he did. He went back to the mill. He said, "Boys, I'm taking my lunch."
We're
But
going off duty, and we're gonna go
I
do
think he
a
even went
walk
home early
around.
that day.
It's time to do a post trip inspection on this truck. Come on.
I honest to God think he went home early that day because he did. He called me up bawling like a baby, and he was just like, I always thought you and your mom were crazy. And he's like, now it happened to me. He's like, I'm never questioning you again. So,
I'm beginning to think maybe we're all a little crazy at some point. And like, what's normal? And who's to say normal based on the
right.
doctor,
You know, I,
psychiatrist? Everybody's
I like
like,
the old saying, what's chaos. What's normal to the spider is chaos to the fly. So, what
situation
is
screwed up,
normal?
perfectly normal. Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I think I know guys that they see stuff, they hear stuff, they have we walk into houses, they're doing investigation, they're like, you know what, I think that guy might be crazy, or he might be schizo, or that lady might be completely bonkers, and I'm like, maybe you have to be a little bit to hear these things or understand these things or see these things,
Hmm.
and I
Well,
know
it's
people
like,
can turn it on or off like a switch, like a gift. They can turn it off and go to sleep. Otherwise, these things keep talking to them all night. They can't sleep. Then I have other friends that they have to be medicated or they have to go get drunk, or they go get high, whatever, because they can't tune it out. And it's like those are
hmm
more of a kind of I think is more of a mental illness that you have to a chemical imbalance. You have to take something or do something to try to block
it
it
could
out. And I have
also
other
be the area too. I've
the
noticed that with
location or
myself. Yeah. Cause like if I'm in a city, I can't stand it. I can't because it's like I'm not just sensitive to the dead. I can feel the living as well. So it's like I can usually tell when someone's upset, angry, getting ready to argue with their spouse or something like that. So whenever I'm in a city and everybody's around me, it's like,
chaos. Yeah,
ah.
the
Usually I
energy.
got headphones in and I've got something blaring in the background, like something to just drown everything out
There's
because
more
it's
drama in
like,
the city. I mean, you be driving around with your scanner and you're like nothing. Or once mom's like, "This is patrol car 25 checking in, and nothing going on, checking in." Then you go through the city, you're like, "We got a stabbing victim over here. We got a domestic. We got it's just the
right,
scanner's going crazy." But
right.
I've also
And
had people where they hear like stuff talking to them. They think it could be spirit, whatever. But we'll also be around like 50 people, and he goes, "I just got Charles," and then this lady goes, "Charles?" And then the guy turns around, "Yeah, what do you want?" I'm like, "You're Charles?" I'm like, "Hey, the whatever you're picking up, he's right over here."
right.
I've had that happen a couple times. We were driving up to Bishop Long out of Louisville. He named it Hell's Gate. It was
Mhm.
Casey Cemetery up by E Town. We're driving up, and I got a guy on the team, Gary. He hears stuff once in a while, and he was like, "Hey, I'm getting this Ernie." Ernie says, "Hey," I'm like, "Okay," and I'm thinking, "Who the hell's Ernie? I don't know an Ernie." And we get a little bit closer, and pretty soon he's like, "Ernie says hi again." I'm like, "Okay," and we're driving along. This happens like 3 times on the way there. It's like an hour and a half drive. We pull up the cemetery, and there's a black pickup, and a man and a lady walk out there, husband and wife. And he goes, "I just want to introduce myself. I'm Ernie Pack with Pac-Man Paranormal." And shout out to Ernie, by the way. He's up in, he runs Fort Duffield Investigations up there. They do paranormal and also kind of like a Bigfoot. They've had some Bigfoot activity up there too. So one of these times we're going to try to plan to go up there. He has different events. And I think he does some other stuff with, there's another team that does some stuff with Bell Witch down there too. We haven't been to Bell Witch, but it's one of our bucket list places that we may want to go. But he just goes walking out the cemetery. "Hey, I'm Ernie," and then I'm like, I go find Gary. I'm like, I just met your Ernie. He's a real person, and I've had that happen a few times with the team. They'll get a name and the guy will go, "Did you just say, you know, Dave or whatever?" Like, "Yeah, my dad's name is Dave." And I was like, "Well, he said he's real sorry about the peanut butter or whatever." I was like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "Well, he's telling me right here. He's it's something that no one else would know. There's no way."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, are these people? Is it do you have to have a mental illness or schizophrenia or paranoia or PTSD or have some kind of trauma to open yourself up to that kind of thing, or does it just come more naturally, or it's like I don't
I
know,
have
but
no idea. I mean, for me, I feel like it was natural because I hadn't gone through anything, at age 2 and 3 and 4.
right,
I mean, I'm wanting to say I was 4 whenever my grandfather passed away. And that was the first time that I can recall ever doing anything supernatural related. There's a restaurant just up the road from me now called Curbet. Me and my mom used to go there all the time. We went there, and it was, I'm going to say, a week after we had buried him. And I don't recall the nickname because, like I said, I was 4. But I called her by her nickname, and she had came back with the food and stuff. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, I said, Papal told me to tell you that everything's going to be okay, and something about something that only she knew about and her nickname. And she looked at me and she goes, Who told you that? And I went, No one. And she goes, Did Papal tell you that? I said, Yeah, he told me right now. She goes, No, no, no. Did Papal tell you that whenever before? And I was like, No. And she was like, He told you right now. And I was like, Yeah, he's over here beside the truck. And she just lost it. And um, then it was like after that, she was kind of at peace. I kind of had to do the same thing with her mom. Um, at first I told her, Mama was okay. And then mom she really grieved her mom. And grandma was the kind of person that if her kids weren't okay, she was right there. And because mom was just constantly grieving herself, I mean, she was putting herself in panic attacks. She's in and out of the hospital, blood pressure going through the roof. She's just not eating, all kinds of different things. And finally, I walked upstairs one day and I told her in grandma's words, but I got onto her, and grandma said she was tired and wanted to go home, but she needed mom to be okay first. And mom calmed down after that. And it was just, I've done that for a few people. I've even done it for Star a few times. Her mom comes around me, and you know, for
I'd say
whatever
hi.
reason, she haunts her daughter, and it's like she's got that and her cousin always around. And I'm like, speaking of which, I have to ask her for mom maybe leaving the mess downstairs because that's getting old. She
Yeah,
said it could be.
we kind of had a similar thing happen. We were on investigation. We were over near Paducah, we're by Benton, Kentucky, and another there was another team with us, and they had one of those Ovilus devices, and basically it just kind of it's a little electronic device that basically picks up different things in the atmosphere, and supposedly the spirits can manipulate it. And little words will come across the screen,
Mm,
and I found it has some pretty good correlations. And I can't dispute the device because it's I'm not here to say it's completely legit and accurate, but I'm
mhm.
not here to say it's fake either because I have had things happen where coincidences I can't explain, and it's
Yeah.
just too coincidental. And I've had some older gentlemen with original Ovilus devices, and he said, the original ones were better, he thought. But so we're at this home, and we were there about 10 minutes, and the other team come up. They talked to the homeowner. They said, "Hey, has there ever been a motorcycle crash here on the property or out front of the property?" She's like, "No." Do you know anyone who's been in a motorcycle crash? She goes, yes, my fiance. Last year he passed. He was on uh, I call them crotch rockets. It's kind of the not your
The
big dresser
Ninja or
Harley or
the
anything or Sportsters,
Suzuki
more
or something.
like the ones they race on those track. The
Mhm.
track. The with all the plastic fairing. They lay down on them. And
Yeah.
the things go like 100 mile an hour in like 2 seconds. They kind of
Mhm.
scare the hell out of me. I see people pulling wheelies going down the interstate. And I just don't want to look. I can't look. I do
Yeah, I'm
not
the
want to see
same
this
way.
guy wreck. I wish he wouldn't do this in front of me. And
Especially down there in Nashville. Oh my gosh.
yeah, she said he was on this, the crotch rocket, and he hit a wall, and that was it. We're like, okay, and so we're looking around. The reason she called us, there was something coming in, knocking on her door every night about 11 o'clock. She had security cameras up, all kind of stuff. Nothing would be picked up on the camera. The knock would pick the audio. She could get that. It was like a little knock knock about 11 o'clock, and then nothing. It didn't happen every night. It happened every other night or so. And you're like, well, is there anything, on the property? Anybody buried here? Was there a death here? Any stupid, weird activity, occult activity, anything? She's like, no. She goes, there used to be a house trailer here, and it's still over there, and we're gonna tear it down. And she had a nice RV she was staying in, and they were going to tear down the mobile home and build a home. And she was just kind of staying in the RV temporarily, but something was coming up to the RV every night, knocking on the door. That's why she called us. She goes, I'm not really she goes, I'm a little scared because it keeps happening, and then there's no one there. There's nothing out there. And I'm like, if somebody needs help, and they're broke down in the car or whatever, nothing there. So we're there. We get this motorcycle crash on the obelisk, and I've got my devices going, and I'm not picking up a whole lot. I do have one device I made. It's not. It's kind of like the cowbell, but it's more the Paramoo, but it's like in a sealed jug. It's like a glass jug, and I have a little spinner inside there. Like for all your bass fish, it'd be a willow blade. You can put on a spinner bait willow blade. I got a brass snap swivel, and it's hooked to a copper coil, and it's all sealed with a cork. It's completely sealed. So the only thing that's going to move the spinner is an earthquake or something paranormal. And I've got the coil going up, and I use the Tektite to try to bring in universal energy, because Tektites are made from, like, a meteorite hits the earth, and the rock is made from it melts from the impact, and all the little pieces blow out, and it's supposed to bring in universal energy. So I'm like, well, the crystal wasn't working. Let's stick a Tektite on there, because I experiment a lot. So that was the first place I've ever been. I carried this thing around for 2 years, and it started moving around. It wasn't spinning real fast. It was moving real slow, like a controlled movement. I didn't even see it. Another teammate goes, "Hey, that thing moving?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's never moved before." And then we look, and then you could see it real slow. I was like, "Well, that's pretty wild." So about that time, Obelisk device says, "Michael." So we're like, "Okay, who's Michael?" So we finally went up to the lady and asked her, "Hey, do you know anyone named Michael?" And she just starts crying. I mean, she just starts losing it right there. I'm like, "Oh my God, what did I say?" And she goes, "My fiance that crashed on the motorcycle, his name was Michael."
Mm.
And we're like, "Oh." And so that was a case where, like you're saying, with, your mom started crying when you brought up the nickname from the
Mm.
grandpa. I mean, we got the motorcycle crash and we got Michael, and that was enough right there just to hit home. And so we're thinking, well, is he just coming by once in a while to knock on the door to say, "Hey, I made it," or I'm wherever I went, I'm okay, or we don't know. And she said, "Well, if it's him coming here, I'm okay with that." And she said, if her dad had passed away, she goes, "If it's my dad or it's him, I'm okay." Because I've had people tell me before they thought their family may be visiting them, and they're okay with it, but they're not scared if it's their mom or grandma. But if it's something else, uh, we went to a lady's home, and she had her father passed away in the home. He was the last family member to pass away, and she still was taking care of his dog. The dog's basically her dog now. Her mother passed away in the home, and her mother-in-law. He remarried his mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law passed away in the home. All three passed away in this home. It's a pretty small home. She actually sleeps in the same bed that her mother had passed in. She said, "I'm not scared of if it's my family, but something." She woke up and something was holding her down, like physically holding her down. Like she felt a
Mm.
hand. It was like she couldn't get her breath, and she woke up like terrified. I'm like, "You sure you weren't having like sleep paralysis or something?" She's like, "No."
I've had
And the
something like
dog
that
came
happen.
in and started growling, and it let go of her, whatever it was. So she's like, "If it was my dad or somebody like that," she goes, "They wouldn't do that." So we had a gentleman on the team. He sees things and hears things, and he was saying there's two guys in the home, and one was a nice man, and the other one, he said, wears a hat. The man with the hat was a bad man or whatever. So we kind of did a cleansing, and then afterwards he said the man with the hat was gone, and
Mhm.
and she said nothing after that. It got quiet. Nothing's happened ever since, and the dog seems cool. She's like, "Look, if my dad's hanging around here, I'm okay with that." She goes, but uh, she was glad we came. We were glad we could help her. Sometimes you can't always help people. You can try. We don't even know for sure what's going on. But, we do try to help people from time to time. We don't do a lot of home visits, but that is something we do. If we don't know what's going on or understand it, we have people we bring in that can help.
Yeah.
And so
One of
that was uh,
the
that was kind of an interesting situation.
yeah, one of the I have to say probably one of the most I'd have to say the most active place that I've ever been was a place that I had gone to with my husband at the time. And, well, we went down to New Orleans and he wanted to, we had gone into a business and something happened there. So he's like, I kind of want to take you somewhere. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to know anything about it. I've always said I don't want to know anything about it because anything I pick up on, I want it to be genuine.
So
So,
he kind of knew you had some abilities, and he
hmm
just was like, "Let's just go
yeah,
in here blind and see what you pick up." Like, I do that
yeah,
sometimes. I'll try not to tell them where we're going. I'll try
hmm
not to tell them anything just to see what they
if
pick
they
up.
have something, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I had told him before in the past, that I had gifts, but, he never really actually seen or experienced anything with me. So after the run-in at the business, he's like, okay, I want to take you somewhere. I think this is going to be kind of cool. I was like, okay, just, don't tell me anything. I just kind of want to be raw with it. And he's like, okay. So we go and I walk away from the group because there was a group with us and because I really wanted to be inclusive. And I even brought my headphones with me and things, so I had them in so I couldn't really hear anybody and stuff. And I wasn't really paying attention to anything because didn't want any info. We get upstairs, they turn us loose. And one of the first things that I noticed was that I couldn't really see it, but I could feel that something was written on the wall. And I knew it was important because I kept being drawn to the wall, but then I got drawn back towards the kitchen. I felt off in there and I was like, well, let's see if anywhere else feels off. So I went back to the bedroom, nothing. Didn't pick up on anything in there. So I went back to the kitchen where I felt the worst at. And I started going through the kitchen and all I could see was blood all over the place, all throughout the kitchen. I mean, it was all over the stove. I opened up the stove, I looked in, and all I could see was blood. I opened up the fridge, I could see blood in the fridge. There's blood all down the walls. And whenever I got back to the bathroom, it looked like there was a bloodbath back there. And I was just like, what in the world? And I kept picking up on a female energy, and she was so frustrated. And I was like, I'm picking up on a blonde, blue eyes. I started seeing her a little bit more. I started giving a description to my husband, and he just said, okay, kind of like that. And, um, but she just kept getting more and more frustrated. And I was like, you're frustrated that this has kind of been turned into like an attraction, so to speak. And she's like, yeah, I'm humiliated because this was my death. This was tragic to me. I cared about the person I was with. They were the person that murdered me. And I was like, whoa, okay. And she's like, yeah, I don't know what happened. He just lost it. And then, ever since then, it's like I've been made out to be this ride people can just come and visit and do whatever with. And they had a REM pod, never went off once that night, unless someone, got near it or something. And at the end of it, we all closed out. They gave me a recorder. I handed it to someone else. I was like, I don't even want it. So they all started talking. I was one of the last ones to go, other than the guy that had been there before, and everybody was telling them, like, hey, I got this, I got this. I didn't feel anything here, but we picked up this here. We don't know if it's that or whatever. And the guy that was leading the group, he got to me, and I told him, I said, well, basically what I had all told you. And then I told him, I said, but I started telling him how she felt. About this time, the REM pod started going off, and it just got louder and louder and louder. He tried to tell her, like, hey, it's okay. And the more he tried to shut her up, the louder that REM pod got. And I said, dude, she's ticked off at you. I'm like, you need to acknowledge her a little bit. Like, tell her thank you for this or something. I said, you guys are just waltzing up in here and doing this and you're ticking her off. And I looked at the REM pod. I said, can you please stop while we're trying to talk? It stopped. And the guy was kind of frustrated the rest of the night because, it kind of continued on from there. There was a little boy downstairs and all kinds of different things. But that was the most active, that was kind of like where I knew at the start of my journey, like where to tell the differences on. because that was so strong. And then afterwards, we got out of there, and Bruce told me, he's like, "You remember that picture on the wall?" And I was like, "I didn't really pay attention to it." So the next day, we went back and he showed me the picture on the wall. And he said, "That was the girl you were describing." And then
Oh
he
wow.
told me the story behind it. And if I'm not mistaken, it was the names were Zach and Addie. And it was, I want to say it was after Katrina. And if I'm remembering it properly, I know Bruce knows the story really well. I'm trying to remember it completely. But he told me that the boy had kind of lost it
I think
after
he was
Katrina had hit.
I think he
Yeah.
was a veteran and he had like
Mhm.
PTSD or something, and something triggered him to snap. And I think,
And he killed his girlfriend,
and
his
then like, didn't
fiance.
he cut her up in pieces and like cook
Yep.
her? Or,
He
yeah,
well, he
yeah.
didn't. I don't think he cooked her, but he tried to hide the body. Is what he
Ah,
tried to do.
yeah, that's where the stove tied in. He maybe was hiding her in the stove. Or,
Yeah, he had put. They had found. There's an article on it. They found the body parts in the fridge and in the stove,
uh,
and he had cut her up in the bathtub, which explains all the blood all over the place. And then he turned around, and if I'm not mistaken, he put his social and an apology and something else on that wall written in blood. And then that's whenever they started doing the paranormal investigations and stuff after that. But yeah, it was Zach and Addie down in New Orleans.
you got
So
Marie Laveau down there too, and
mhm.
she's got her little shop down there. If you go in there, you're supposed to leave a penny or whatever on the altar,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And you don't want her, you don't want the Rougarou coming.
Yeah.
I've got a video here, and I don't have a label, so this is going to be a surprise video. I don't even know what this is, so we're just going to wing it. Jessica, you ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
We have extraterrestrial technology over there that we have received from two separate sources. Some of the hardware was retrieved as a result of several crashes that have taken place. I mean, we know about the crash at Roswell. Don't doubt for a moment that happened. That's all true. That took place. There was a crash at Kingman. There was a crash at Aztec. There have been crashes all over the United States. There were crashes right outside of L.A. There was a crash in Washington State some years ago. A couple of crashes in Mexico that we retrieved the hardware. Not only did we retrieve the hardware, but we retrieved bodies. Some dead, some alive. Some of the alive bodies we kept alive for quite a while. Rumor has it that at least one of them is still alive. Well, that's one story. The other story is there are 25 or 30 of those little guys over there at Groom Lake at about 20 levels down at S4 that are working with us, that gave us hardware. And we are not only putting bits and pieces together, but we are flying the aircraft and we are flying prototypes.
Little different turn from our New Orleans conversation, but
Yeah.
what do you think about like paranormal tied in with extraterrestrial type activities? I know people that I know a medium that she's out of Chicago, and she normally just does readings for people, like if you want to hear from your mom or you have a loved
Mhm.
one, or and one day she just got this random kind of like a transmission. Basically, she picked up, and it was like they said they were aliens. They're like letting you know we're friendly and we're coming. You're going to start seeing UFOs. You're going to see stuff. They're going to call it drones. They're going to have all these different things, and we're coming and we're friendly and just want to let you know. And she's like, well, anything else? Do I need, she's like trying to reach out to them, and they're like, no, we'll let you know if there's anything else. And that's it. She goes, look, I don't normally talk about anything like this because I don't get messages from other world entities.
You're
It's
right.
always, she's got like her spirit guide. And it's usually someone's loved ones coming through. She goes, but I felt like I had to share this because it's not something I normally receive. It's different. And she was really, people were ridiculing her and just, basically like, you're full of crap and just on and on. And it took a lot of guts for her to come out and say, look, I just got contacted by aliens basically through my mediumship. And down anybody. You know, we don't know what they're hearing. We don't know what they're seeing. I don't have any abilities. All I got is equipment. I don't know if it's really picking up what I received. It may or may not be picking up. I try to
Yeah.
share any evidence we get. We think interesting. If we think it's fake, we don't put it out there. If we think it's false positive or it's just our equipment messing up, we won't put it out there. But if it's
Yeah.
something interesting, we can't really figure out. We'll put it out. But she was on our show, and then in the coming weeks after that, there was all of a sudden thousands of people were seeing these things and hearing things. And you had the
Mhm.
whole drone thing going on for a while. That
You
kind of
know?
got a little quiet. You're not hearing so much about that. People are still seeing a few little things. I saw something fly
Yeah.
over one night. I've got a little video, but
Yeah, it's
what,
funny
what are
you
your
mentioned.
thoughts on extraterrestrial and paranormal tied in?
You know, it's funny that you mention Chicago, because whenever I was trucking, a lot of times I would see stuff by the Great Lakes over in Chicago.
They have been
Um,
seeing Mothman sightings up around O'Hare Airport in Chicago in the last couple of
mm,
years.
yeah, most time what I saw, and I don't know if it was like maybe the naval base up there doing something around the Great Lakes or what, but it just didn't look right. You know how like a shooting star it'll come down at like an angle like this,
Yeah,
and I would see stuff and it would come down and it would stop
right.
and then start to spiral.
I've seen
And it
them
would,
stop,
but it would
move real
stop.
slow, and then when they shoot down, all of a sudden, like a meteorite just goes by, or a
Yeah,
meteor will come down, hit the ground. These
yeah,
things would stop and like move real slow, like change course, and then it would, like
mhm,
you're saying, it would just shoot down. And when it would shoot, it would look like it was on like a plasma on fire, and it looked like silver, and then it would be green,
mhm,
it'd be white, and all this
yeah,
crazy. A meteor's usually like a little orange thing or blue, and that's it. This thing,
right,
and then it would just go so fast, it was like gone. You know, is that
right.
kind of what you saw, something like that?
Yeah, I've seen different things. I've seen things come down, stop, then start to do that corkscrew. I mean, you could see it
Yeah, like
corkscrew.
fluttering, like flaming,
Right.
looked like it was on fire, kind of thing.
And then like it would stop and then it would move over and then it would do this number and then it would go back the other direction. It's like, what in the world am I seeing here? You know, it's not a satellite. It's not some space material coming out of there or something
No,
like
that just kind
that.
of comes
And
floating, going by, and burns up. But it's like
yeah, I
the
haven't
way
seen, I haven't seen anything like Bigfoot or anything like that. But I mean, I've seen some things, that I'm just like, what was that? I've
I
seen
used to
something
do a
that
lot
looked
of
like
night
a
trucking because I like to listen to Art Bell back in the day, and I love paranormal radio late night. And that keep me awake when I'm driving. I'm like, oh, they're talking to a witch. Oh, Mel's Hole. Oh, there's UFOs. Oh,
yeah.
alien, But the best way I can describe what I saw, I've seen a few things when I was younger up in Illinois, and it was, how when you look at a fire and the flames are orange, they're yellow, they're
Mhm.
red, they're maybe bluish green. The best way I could describe this would be like if you could make a metallic flame, like if you could
Mhm.
make a flame that looked like uh
Plasma.
no more like mercury, like if it was
Mm.
like a metallic mercury, but the flames looked like
Wet
they were
almost.
they were lit up, but like metallic looking.
Yeah.
Like if you could make flames look like aluminum foil, that's kind
Mhm.
of, and then it would turn white and green and but it would. Me and my buddy were looking through a telescope. We were just getting ready to go in the house, and we were like in high school. And he goes, "Hey, what's that?" I turn around, this thing just like went boom, it appeared, and he goes, "What the hell?" And then it moved real slow. Then it just went, phew. And then
Yeah.
my buddy's mom was driving home that night. She saw it, and then a couple weeks later, me and my dad saw something like that coming back from the auction house one night. It's like this thing popped up. We're driving. It's like right above the road. It's like up the sky, and it just kind of like popped up, moved real slow. Then it went
Yeah.
gone. But
I've
I
had
got
moments
a
when,
video here for you, Jessica. See what you think of this one. I've already got my opinion on this one. We'll see what you think. heard saying that was down in Haiti. I'm
I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's edited a little bit
I'm thinking
because
CGI,
yeah,
AI,
if you look at it, the noise, like they call it
like the
noise,
wind
but it's that
blows once in a
pixel.
while.
No,
Yeah,
the pixelation in the background.
yeah,
In photography, they call that noise.
right.
And if you look at the ship, the noise never pops up on the ship.
It's like
It's all behind it.
it's like pasted on there. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's almost like someone edited it into the film itself, is what
I
I
think
feel
it's
like.
completely fake, but if it's
Yeah.
not, then uh, I'll apologize if somebody can prove to me that it's real.
Yeah, I was like, that just looks like it's been edited in there.
And this one here is kind of a classic. I've heard this description quite a few times of UFOs, but this one here is kind of a classic one. I think of the what they phenomenon.
Awareness is awakening within the masses on this planet. When you are aware, you can tune into the different frequencies, remember who you are, and change the vibratory rate of this universe, and create a massive healing of consciousness on many levels. You are magnificent beings. You all need one another. It is imperative that you work in harmony. Harmony is required. To all of you who recognize the light source that moves you to follow the silent whispers that echo down the golden spirals through the corridors of your own being, we honor you. We recognize you. We are all here as the family of light.
Kudos out to the UFO channel on that one. It's supposed to be sighted over Holland. Classic triangular shaped UFO. I'm not sure what to think about it. Like, I kind of like the little alien head spinning around and the cool music and everything. They kind of jazzed it up. I like that. You know, kind of made it more entertaining. But I don't know. Was this legit? Was it CGI? Is it, and supposedly it was a real video taken above Holland. And at the end, the thing just kind of has this energy and just, it's gone.
Yeah. I was trying to pay attention to because the first thing I noticed was like, okay, it's in front of the cloud. Then all of a sudden it goes behind the clouds, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, because that's what I was like looking for was, does it ever go behind the clouds? Because that's a little harder to edit in, but they've gotten good with it. I mean, I don't know. Military is always doing stuff. I know that's classic blame is the military, but I honestly God don't know on that one. I've
I'm
never
going to show
seen
you one of my
personally.
This is one of my Philbilly UFO videos, and this one goes behind a cloud too. This come right over the house, and I was thinking when I saw this, it was on a trajectory. It was going real slow, moving the same direction, kind of diagonal southwest to northeast, and I tried to zoom in on it a couple times, and I had another gentleman send me a video. And I got a picture of that of his. I'll pull up too and show you. His almost looks identical. Very similar to the activity people are seeing all over the country. And I'm like, is it the ISS? Because I've seen the ISS, but it usually goes kind of fast. And you'll get like an iridium flare, they call it, where the hits it and it'll light for a second, then it's out. This thing stayed lit the whole time. I'm going to pull it up. See what you think of my Philbilly UFO video. Here we go.
It's the ISS coming over. Could be the ISS. I don't know if this thing will zoom in. Can't tell what it is, but it's moving pretty good. Can't tell what it is, man. It's hauling ass. It's almost going by the house. It's definitely an unidentified flying object, whatever it is. It's getting like an iridium flare off of it. I think it could be the ISS. Try to zoom in on it one more time. that definitely do not have the right equipment. And it's gone. If I could turn around and try to keep seeing it. Oh, went in back behind a cloud. It's still going. I don't know. It didn't look solid. It looked kind of like some kind of ball. Let's see if it comes out of this cloud. There it is. It's out of the other side of the cloud. We'll try to zoom in on it. Ah, dang it. I don't know what that is. It's still going. It's going behind the house.
I don't know, it kind of looked like satellite to me.
Well, yeah, I've seen satellites, but normally I can't. They're not that close. Like I try to zoom in on them, and I just get like a tiny little speck, and some of them you can barely
Yeah.
see. I'm gonna pull up a.
Sometimes, whenever they start to come down, like if they're done with them and they're bringing them down,
To
they'll
let them
be
burn up.
closer. Yeah, they'll be closer like that.
Ah, maybe it was that
Yeah.
Russian one that was it burned up over the ocean or whatever.
Mhm.
But I'm going to show you a picture, and this is a gentleman out of New York, and he's zoomed in on one, and here's what his look like.
Huh.
And I'm thinking it looked pretty similar, I think. But
Yeah, they definitely look similar. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, just the
I'm
trajectory
not
and the
either.
speed of it kind of looked like a satellite to me. Is the only thing I
I,
could think of.
I reported it on the UFO. There's a UFO network where you can report sightings,
Mhm.
and you put in the date, the time, the direction. I sent them the video. I'm waiting to hear back from them, and and if they come back and say, okay, that was a satellite, that was
Yeah.
it was a weather balloon, it was whatever it is. I'm
Right.
like, okay,
I
now I
know.
know
I
what
think
it
there's a
is.
website you can go to too, because NASA, they keep a lot of their stuff like up so people can look at it, and you can see like where the satellites are at and like their trajectories, like if they're coming down or like what they're going to be doing with them and things. I think that they
It's
have that.
there's an app you can download called Heavens Above,
Mhm.
and it tells you like all the planets. It tells you all the satellites, and you can see what time they come over, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. And there's another specific app just for the ISS. It tells you when ISS flyovers are, and you put in your location, and your phone will put in your latitude, longitude, and everything, and it'll tell you when the next flyover is. And I believe there's one for the Starlink as well that looks like a train. And I always thought they'd be like you'd see them going by like a train, all connected, and it wasn't like that. It was like one satellite. I'm like, okay, I see that. That's pretty dim, but then pretty soon here comes another one. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty wild. And pretty soon here comes another one, and it took me a minute. I'm like, oh, it's got to be that Starlink. But
Mhm.
everybody said it looks like a train. I'm thinking it's going to be like a train going by, but it wasn't. They've just kind of gone by one at a time. And look, and there's a space
Yeah,
between them. I'm like, oh, okay.
that's kind of cool.
Let's see what else I got here. I know you've never seen one of these, but we're gonna pull up this video, see what you think.
The government tried to confiscate this footage because of what it revealed about Bigfoot. In 1984, Raymond Cutter, a former park ranger, tracked down something massive through the Cascade Mountains for 3 nights straight. What he captured on tape, not just a blurry silhouette, but behavior, intelligence, patterns. Raymond discovered that Bigfoot doesn't wander aimlessly. It follows the Earth's magnetic grid. He claimed it traveled between specific ley lines, sleeping in shallow underground nests lined with cedar and moss. Even stranger, he recorded it, emitting a soundless pulse that disrupted his compass and made birds fall silent. And here's the kicker. Bigfoot left behind carvings, not scratches, symbols, almost like a language. One the U.S. Forest Service allegedly flagged as unknown glyphs of non-human origin. They raided Cutter's cabin 2 days later. The original tapes were taken. What's left are degraded copies he buried in the woods. This is one of those copies. Before it's scrubbed off the internet, follow us. There's a lot more they don't want you to see. Trust me.
So the content he was talking about was, to me, was pretty interesting. But that video, to me, I don't know how anything could climb up that, and it didn't look like it was even attached to anything. It just looked like it was just. I think
that was
looked like
definitely
CGI to me or
interesting.
AI or something. Because I'm like, okay, whatever
Yeah.
that monkey, gorilla, Bigfoot looking thing. It's like he's
Not
not even
only
like
that,
grabbing onto nothing. He's just kind of like
waltzing up,
scurrying up.
yeah. But my thing is too is like, how do you get that close to it?
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I don't know, maybe kind of like, you know, like props for movies and things like
Yeah.
that, how they can make anything look like anything. Kind of almost looked like they did something like that, and then they had someone in that suit and it looked like it was walking up it and that kind of thing. But you know, I like I said, I've never seen anything. Um, Me personally, I haven't really had what you call anything happen. Someone in my family has. They've claimed they've had something thrown at them, and I'm like, okay. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I haven't ever seen anything like that, but I won't discredit it. Like
Right.
the idea of Bigfoot being out there because I've seen too many other things. You know, if we're gonna stick with like angels and demons and human beings, okay, but I've seen other things too. So who's to say Bigfoot and the Mothman and you know all those other things aren't real? Because if I've seen skinwalkers and you know, I'm going to assume some dilapidated werewolf because that was out in Pennsylvania.
Well, I'm
But
thinking the whole Dogman thing. My thoughts are, what if it's some kind of a experiment the government
went
did with
wrong.
DNA, and because like humans and dogs can't
There's
reproduce. You know, the DNA, it just can't happen. But what if they did something in a laboratory? And
I
my
need
other
to
thoughts,
send you a link to a video here on YouTube. You may have even seen it, but it's a group of kids went up into Ohio and there was supposed to be a town that was abandoned, completely abandoned. Military cleared it out. There's signs, do not enter, all this good stuff. And the military went out there and done something. And these kids went out there to go investigate and they found a bunker. And they went into the bunker and everything was torn apart and all kinds of stuff. But I'm kind of like on the fence whether or not it was real. They claim it's real. I don't know if it's real or not. I mean, none of the footage look edited. The what's the word I'm looking for? You never really see anything throughout the footage, but you'll hear noises and you know things like that, and you can see where they've walked through and all kind. But I'm just thinking, you know, military experiment because that's what they were thinking because it was a military experiment gone wrong.
yeah,
And
there was a story about a truck driver up in Michigan, and I think he stopped to check his truck or go to the bathroom or something. And he gets and he thought he saw something like a dog or something run behind his truck. He gets in his truck. He's going along. He's going up this big hill. He had a load on. He's real slow going up a hill. And he said he looks over and this thing's running alongside his truck, and it's looking at him at his level up. You know how tall a semi is. This thing's
oh
looking
yeah.
at him through the passenger window,
I think
running
I would have.
alongside on two legs,
Oh
and it
god.
looked like a wolf kind of thing. And it reached in the truck and is trying to claw him, trying to claw at him, and he just happened to have his side piece there, and he shot at it, and because it was trying to claw him, you know, and they're trying to grab him,
Mhm.
and he shot at it, and it fell off. He just kept going on up the hill,
Yeah, I would
and then
too.
after he thought about it, yeah, he thought about it. He was like, you know, this thing was running alongside the truck, whatever the hell this thing is. He just had the presence of mind. He's like, you know what? I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go back, and if it's still in the road, he said, I'm going to finish it off. it's going to be whatever it is going to be squished when I get done with it.
Right.
So he turns around and he starts going down the hill, gets to the bottom, and there's like military Humvees and stuff down there. And they're all like standing around this thing. And he just drove on by, kept going. And he was like freaking out, He's like, holy crap, what just happened? And and this is all a secondhand story I got. It's all supposedly has happened. Like 3 years later, he pulls into a way station. And they said, you need to come around back. And he's like, what? They're checking my logbook, my paperwork. I'm not overweight. What's going on? And they said, you need to come inside. He's like, okay. So he brings all his logbooks, paperwork. They go, we don't need to see none of that. You need to stay here being detained. He's like, what's going on? And they're like, we can't talk about it. Pretty soon, some guys in black suits show up, and they take him to a little room. They're like, we need to talk to you. He's like, yeah. He goes, do you remember a few years ago there was this thing that scratched up your truck and run alongside, looked kind of like maybe like a dog or whatever? And he was like, I really don't want to talk about it. They said, you took out one of our assets. We need to make sure you don't ever speak of this or you're going to have problems. Well, obviously he spoke to somebody about it because now we've heard about it. But maybe completely made up. I don't know. But, he was like, they took him a few years to track him down. And when his name, whatever, came up on their computer, they're like, oh, you're being detained. He's like,
I don't know.
I don't know. That my thoughts are these things could be a government experiment. They got loose. And because it could be highly intelligent since it's a hybrid between a human or human
It's
DNA.
very.
And my other thoughts are that it could be this thing could be created in our future, and they're sending it back in time or whatever to do. Time travel could be possible in the future. And one other thing leads me to believe that's a possibility. Martin Groves, one that wrote a lot of the Beast, Land Between the Lakes books. I've got all his books, and he's saying this thing was running alongside the same kind of way they've been reported run alongside your car, truck, whatever. He said they looked down and its legs were like all of a sudden went invisible. He said then this thing just like disappeared. And I had the gentleman on from New York a couple weeks ago, and he's talked to quite a few psychics. He has some abilities himself. Every psychic he has talked to have all told him the same answer because he's like, what about Dogman? And they all have agreed, told him the same answer. They believe they are an interdimensional being. So if it's from our future, it's man-made, whatever, they're blipping it in and out, kind of like quantum leap kind of thing. It's plausible that, but that's what all the mediums, psychics, sensitives all come back. They're like, it's interdimensional. And he hasn't had anybody tell him anything different. Like, oh, it's it's an ancient creature, it's a demon, it's a whatever. That never comes up. It's interdimensional. But I'm thinking, there's things that could be, even spiritual beings, demonic angels, any of that. To me, those would be interdimensional beings as well. Because then when you pass away, your soul's going somewhere, going to another dimension.
Yeah.
One thing they have done experiments with, I've watched a lot of these Netflix shows. It's called Life After Death. And I don't know if you've watched any of those programs, but there was a doctor, and he got permission from the families. He did this study. It was a death study. And he put a scale under whatever the people were laying on at their moment of death, a bed, table, whatever. He would weigh people, and it was like a live scale, and he'd see their weight, like 100 pounds, whatever. Every single person, when they died, lost the exact same amount of weight. It was like 0.2 something grams, whatever. I can't remember exactly, but babies, older people, younger people, heavy set people, skinny people, whatever, different nationalities, everyone loses the exact same amount when they die. He believes that's the weight of the soul leaving the body. So
it could be.
Where do they go? And to me, that's another dimension they're at. If they can see and hear us, they're in another dimension, but somehow they can still come in and out of our dimension if they're that level.
Yeah.
And then I'm being told once you've been passed away longer, you ascend or descend to different dimensional levels. Is what way different, like Indian faith, different
Right.
religions. That's what they believe. So I mean, to me, it's plausible. These dogmen, whatever they are, could be
Well,
interdimensional.
to add to your dogman thing, I was over here looking up the map because I had to remember the highways and things like that. But Wheeling, West Virginia, was where I was at, and I was going to Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, and I always did this at night because I could usually make it in a day and a half. So I'm driving along, and I popped off of 70 onto 470 down in Wheeling. And there's a bit where you go through, and it's a straight stretch right before it starts to go down the hill where it joins back up to 70. And right in that straight stretch right there, I seen eyes off to the right, and I started slowing down because I thought maybe it was a deer or something over in the corner of the woods. And there was, the barriers down the middle and down your passenger side. About this time, I see something jump over the right side by my passenger door, and whenever it did, I seen something reach up and grab hold of the barrier, and it hauled itself over. You know how like you'll see people jump fences? That's how it did it. It jumped the barrier. When it did, its head was up to, I was driving a Peterbilt, and it was up to the hood ornament on my truck, but it wasn't standing completely straight up and down. It was hunched over, like you'll see someone sprint. Like it was sprinting, but the head of it was up there almost level with my hood ornament.
Wow.
And the only way I can describe it is it looked like an emaciated werewolf is what it looked like, because
They
the
do look pretty
feet.
scraggly. Every picture, every rendition or description people sketch, anything, they always look kind of scraggly looking.
Yeah.
I had a guy
And
seen one. He said it was like a classic. He was looking out his window and like the night raining. He said that the lightning, and there it was.
yeah.
And then it was gone. And then I met him up at Crypticon. This guy was still. This happened to him like a year before. That's why he came to Crypticon. He would talk to him about it, and he was still kind of shook up about it. So he seemed legit. But he said nobody's gonna believe me because it's like, oh, you saw a werewolf in the lightning. What?
Yeah. It was wild. That was for sure. Because I sat there and I double took because I was like, am I that tired? Because I've seen things, they call it the black dog
The
when you're
Black
tired.
Dog. Yeah, like the Patrick Swayze
And
movie. He was
yeah, and I
driving a
was
Peterbilt in that movie too. He pushed him up the hill and everything, and that truck was badass. That was a good movie.
But I sat there and I did a double take, and I remember very specifically whenever it hit the white line on the shoulder, it went 1 foot there, 1 foot in the center. The next step hauled itself over the other side, and it was gone.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going.
I'd
I
love
wasn't
to
gonna
see
turn
that.
around.
Going through Pennsylvania, all I ever saw was like those little pygmy looking deer on the side. They're like right on the shoulder of a knife. I'm like, oh my God, if this deer jumps, he's done. And they would just sit there and eat with semis going by like 2 feet from them all night on the shoulder. Those deer would never jump in the road. They just like oblivious. Well, hey Jessica, we're getting toward the end of our time. I really appreciate you coming on tonight. Last minute, it's kind of last minute notice. I was talking to the team and see if anybody could come on, and you were gracious enough to come on tonight. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Conversation. Hopefully we'll have some more stuff from you and the rest of our team in the future. We got some things coming up we're going to do. We're going to probably take a little break on investigations. Nothing major. We're planning a trip in 4th of July week. We're going to go out to Point Pleasant, West Virginia. We're going to try to go to Gettysburg. And then somewhere in there, we're going to try to squeeze in a Land Between the Lakes. And then we've got some stuff going on in August, too, as well, up at Mansfield, Ohio. But really appreciate you coming on. And we're gonna shut her down now. And appreciate everybody coming on this week. And coming on to Supernatural Sundays. And y'all have a good one now. Come on.